Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are joined with Sean Metcalf from Inventory Base, who will be talking on how to outsmart the summer surge, automate property turnovers, and nail compliance with work streams. If you have any questions, you can put them in the questions box, and we'll try and get through them at the end. Alternatively, you can email events@propertymart.co.uk. And I'll pass you over to start the webinar. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Kelsey, and welcome everybody. Now, you might hear a little bit of background noise. I do apologise. I'm actually at the Kerfuffle conference at Wembley in London, and clearly I thought it was a great idea to do a webinar whilst we're also out in conference. But actually, I think it's working really well because of the amount of people I've already spoken to, agents and suppliers alike, who are all talking about the summer surge and what to expect this year, bearing in mind we've got all the changes to the Renters' Rights Bill looming, not yet in place. So I thought it would be a good idea to just kind of see how we could help you really kind of like make your summer more efficient and also automate a lot of the stuff that you're using at the moment. So we'll be looking at why summer surge creates risk, because that's what it does do, how Workstreams and Base AI, which has been recently launched by us here at Inventory Base, can help solve it, and some key features around our Workstream supplier option, and that's marketplace, suppliers and contracts. And of course then a bit of a Q&A if you've got any questions for me at the end. I will intend on keeping to time, and if you do have any questions and I can't answer them, then please feel free to add them to the chat box, or you can contact me at a later date when we get to the end slide where there's a QR code and you can get our contact details. So, summer challenge. So what does that consist of? So that's student changeovers, that's looming legislation, Renters' Rights Bill, all of that equals pressure. And also we've got back-to-back check-ins and check-outs. I mean, one of our users is doing something like 500 within a very short space of time. It's a lot of work, so that really does create a lot of problems. And also, you've got to be able to manage all of that as you go along throughout, not just the lead up to, during, but also post as well. And all those come with tight deadlines and very high expectations, both from the landlord and also from the tenants themselves. So there's a lot there to manage. And of course, then compliance, we've got loads. It's increasing, and we know that there's loads of pressure, not just now where we stand, but also as we come down the line. So with the student changeovers, looming legislation, it all creates pressure, and with pressure then means then you're more likely to feel a little bit overwhelmed. So, and I know that because I've been running my own inventory business for the last 13 years. I know what it's like to tackle exactly all the stresses and strains of moving in and out, and also understanding what it is and means for agents to manage this, because it's not just one supplier, it's not just one process, it's not one tenant, one landlord. You're talking multiple, and sometimes, like I said, in the hundreds to be able to manage it. So it's a huge turnover rush. But I think certainly with Workstreams and Base AI, we can certainly help you manage that side of things. Now, if you look at the Summer Challenge, you've got approximately 1.5 million students that live here in England, and a lot of them are fixed tenancies as it stands at the moment. Obviously, I know that that's likely and is going to change, but there's a lot there going on, but we've still got this summer to get through. And places like Nottingham, Leeds, Manchester, Bristol, as you can see, 80 to 90% of students' rentals turn over in a 4 to 6 week period. So there's a lot of organisation, a lot of challenge in being able to manage that and get it done right and quickly without impacting both the tenants going out and also tenants coming in. And the average length for tenancy as it stands at the moment is between 43 and 45 weeks. So with contracts expiring in July, it means then you're getting a bottleneck, as we all know, where everything has to happen all at the same time. And that requires back-to-back checkouts. So that means you're not only checking the tenants out, you're checking the new tenants in, then managing the checkouts with those tenants, and also then understanding all the issues around the actual checkouts in order for the deposit deductions, and also check-ins where maybe things have been missed or things that haven't gone quite right, and there's a lot of work to do in regards to how you manage the expectations of those tenants who are coming in, and or equally some of them are signed and they haven't actually moved in, so you're still having to manage the property almost like it's in a void period. So there's a huge amount that's going on that you're having to juggle and just really get to grips with. And with the summer turnaround, the window is very tight. I mean, I know for a fact, because I've done it personally myself, that so sometimes you get 24 to 48 hours in which to do all of this work, to arrange, to get keys in, make sure you've got all the keys in, make sure that the maintenance is already sorted in regards to any works that needs doing, either scheduled or because of results of the checkout, the cleaning elements of it. And as our Property Mark survey says, between July and August, this is the peak period where there's real stress within lettings teams. And because you're concentrating, you've got loads to manage, and not only just on the student movements, but just general movements as well. So all of this really does add up to a real big summer challenge. And with those tight deadlines, there's high expectations. There's expectations from the landlord to make sure that the property doesn't remain void. There's expectations from the outgoing tenant that they're going to get the deposit back, like literally now. And also from the incoming tenants that everything is going to be absolutely perfect, spick and span clean, ready to move in, ready to carry on with their lives without having to worry about the property. And I'm sure at some point you probably be thinking, well, that's not really realistic, but it's what the expectations are. And then another aspect that often gets overlooked but equally does cause problems is around the tenant deposit deduction. So you've got the Housing Act 2004, and this kind of lays the foundation as to how that all works. But sometimes you've got insufficient documentation, you've got losses during the dispute and deposit dispute timeline because you haven't got the right information. And a lot of the student deposit disputes stem from inadequate evidence or documentation. And for those that run HMOs, there's a lot more regulations that are required to adhere to things like maintenance maintenance standards during turnover, and also pushback where property hasn't been repaired, there's cleaning left to be done, there's documentation that's not been sorted, and also managing potential licence breaches. And then, of course, just to add insult to injury, we've now got the Renters' Rights Bill coming in. So that is where the summer challenge actually lies. And I would imagine most of you going, I know this, Sean, why are you telling me this? I'm saying it to you because sometimes there's aspects of it you think, well, it's just kind of business as usual. But if you actually broke it down, I think you'd probably look at it and say, actually, do you know what? No, this isn't business as usual. This is actually more than that. There's more going on that I not only have to manage just on a day-to-day basis, but I've also got a plan for. And what I mean that is, again, Renters Reform Bill, which should be Renters' Rights Bill. So mistake there, apologies. That's expected in 2025. So if we look at it at the moment, summer recess for the House of Lords, for the Commons, for parliamentarians, for the MPs is July 22nd. So there's a big rush and what they call ping pong going on, where there's amendments and conversations, etc., to try and get it in. And that's going to create significant challenges and changes to the industry. But the issue we've got at the moment is that they don't think they're actually going to meet that. And the trouble then is when they come back off a break, they've got about 4 weeks before they go off to conference later in the year. So royal assent might not happen quite now. But the other element is, what happens if it does? What happens if it comes in now? Are you prepared? Do you have everything in place to be able to manage the fact that you're going to no longer have Section 21 in order for the no-fault evictions? How are you going to manage that side of things? Especially because all of the points around the renters' rights is about strengthening the tenants' ability to challenge their poor living conditions, and also ensure that they've got defensible inspection reports from an agent's point of view should those get challenged by the tenant. So there's a lot there to really think about and to manage. And then I'm not sure if you're aware, but in case you haven't seen it yet, there's another Decent Home Standard consultation going on as we speak. It was launched the other day, and they're looking to understand what the industry thinks about Decent Home Standards. Now, we already had this in the last government. That was already in play. All the paperwork, everything else, all the mechanisms, all done. But the current government have decided, no, I'm not going to do anything with that. We're going to go and look at something else. We want to restart the process. The problem with that is they're now looking at an implementation date of 2035 to 2037. So my argument with that is, well, what happens to all the properties and all the issues between then and now? And then, of course, then you've got enforcement for HMOs. So that's risen by about 18% since 2021. And it's going to require more inspections, improvement notices happening in student areas because of the fact is they're paying more attention to it. And then you've got civil penalties up to 30,000 or 30% deposit disputes will stem from those inadequate property conditions, and then those penalties of 30,000 and above in some cases will then start to be put against either the landlord or the agent. So for me, as an agent, without the strong inventory and checkout processes, you do really risk losing disputes and damaging landlords' reputations, and ultimately yours as well, because if that is damaged, then it's going to be very, very difficult for you to go to a landlord and expect them to allow you to take on their property. So the background and the whole point of saying that is we want to bring some control to the chaos. So we want to take you from chaos to control. And we can do that with inventory-based work streams and also a newly launched Base AI. And that means we've got the ability to help you automate time-critical repetitive tasks, and that is going to free your team to focus on more value-added work. It's going to help you align suppliers to your standards, not theirs, not as you're given, but what you need as your business, especially from a risk assessment point of view. And that creates more consistent, more defensible output right across your property portfolio, not just for one, but every single time. And it's also going to give you the ability to scale to handle high volume turnover. So you can manage the number of properties and types that you've got, but don't drop the quality. And that is essential in this summer peak period that we're now coming up to, because the last thing you want is the ball to be dropped, which is quite relevant. Bear in mind, I'm sat in Wembley at the moment, and that will then potentially cause you not only a risk to your business, but also could hit your bottom line. And the way Workstreams works with Base AI is it enhances reports. So Workstreams gives you the mechanism to access those reports through suppliers, through contracts, and through the marketplace. And Base AI helps you enhance those reports by identifying gaps, improving consistency, and also supporting compliance. And Base AI does that. It gives you an advantage to be smarter, safer, and also create a more simpler process for you. So the first one is about creating executive summary. So what you're doing is you're taking your report, and instead of just giving an inventory, a check-in or a check-out report to your landlord or portfolio owner, you're giving them a compliance tool. You're giving them the ability to understand the report. Now, sometimes, and I know this personally, landlords and sometimes agents don't read through the report. They only want the salient points, they either want the actions or something very specific. And that is what an executive summary does. It gives you a professional summary of the full report, perfect for a quick overview and also to understand the entire report. Because then that will then give you the understanding of, do I need to go further and deeper into it? Or do you know what, everything is working fine, I can then move forward. There's also the ability to generate a full report using the AI transcription. So what that does is it takes your photos, allows you to submit them, and then Base AI populates your report with description conditions automatically. It doesn't mean that you have to accept that. You've got full editing control to say, I don't agree with that, or I don't want this in there, or actually I would phrase it a different way. But what it does, it gives you a head start. So sometimes if you don't know what it is you want to say, how you want to say it, or you don't understand whether it's relevant or not, then the AI will look at those pictures and give you that interpretation. And then you can go, do you know what? Yeah, I need to think about that, or maybe I even need to do something. And then you've got the autofill section summary. So this allows you to analyze a room's photo to generate a smart summary for that particular room. So that could be a kitchen, it could be a bathroom, it could be a contained studio let. It just allows you to be able to summarize that. So again, you could use that to get a real good understanding of that room, of its issues really quickly without going all through the detail. The detail's still there. It just means then you don't have to then sit and read all the way through it. And then you've got your auto-generate descriptions and conditions. So there's for specific images. So for argument's sake, if you've got a generalized report, but there's one that you actually want to pay particular attention to, you can use the Base AI to generate those descriptions, conditions to comments based on the items and do a photo analysis. So, and that's instant. We are talking seconds. We're not talking minutes. We're not talking hours. We're talking literally seconds with full edit control. And then you've got your auto-generate image caption. So that allows you to be able to say each image, give it an alt text, understand what it's saying, or give it a title or a way of actually saying this is what this particular picture is going to be talking about. And what that does is it enhances the clarity of the report, enhances the ability for the reader, and that could be a deposit adjudicator, it could be a court of law if it goes to small claims courts or beyond. It could be for the ombudsman, or it could be for your agent, or your tenant, or for your landlord. So it really does give you a whole raft of options to be able to understand that report. And that's why BaseIO really does help understand the report for you, builds the report for you, helps you simplify it, but keeps you smart. But the main thing, it also keeps you safe as well. And also coming soon, and just a little taster, there's another element that we're looking at, and that's going to be transcription. I'm not going to give you any more details than that, but do feel free to contact me separately if you want to know more. But that is coming, and that is going to be even more of a game changer. So you're not going to have just those stacks that I've talked about. You're going to have an additional one that really is going to, circle the workflow and bring it all together. So work streams, so what is it? So work streams is made up of three areas. You've got your marketplace, you've got your suppliers, you've got your contracts. Your marketplace is where you tap into vetted, on-demand help, excuse me, during peak turnover, and that helps you maintain standards while boosting your capacity. So basically it's a dip in and dip out as and when you need it. That helping hand, that's someone you can go, can you do this report for me? Can you go and do this service for me? And that's where marketplace really comes into its own. And then you've got suppliers. So that's where you manage trusted providers direct. You invite them into your workspace, but you retain control and the data, also the processes, so the output quality is all directed by you. And then you've got contracts. So that allows you to handle predicted high volume periods, exactly where we're coming into now with the summer period. And that can be done with pre-agreed SLAs, so service level agreements, and that will make sure you ensure seamless delivery without the scrambling, without the mucking around trying to figure out, is it included, is it not, is it going to be effective, is it not? So let's delve a little bit deeper into each three of those. So we've got marketplace. So you've got instant outsources for inventories and inspections. So the mechanism is you can get bids from local vetted suppliers approved by Inventory Base, and approved is that we take them through a vetting process. We make sure they have the relevant and up-to-date insurance, the public liability, professional indemnity insurance, that they've got sample reports so we can see the level that they're at. And if they're not at the right level, then they don't come onto the marketplace until they are. And we give them additional help and advice, support and training through Inventory Base Academy, and also now through our Property Mark Level 3 inventory training that has been recently launched. You have full control over the branding, you have full control over the editing of reports, or you can outsource on the basis that it goes to the supplier, it comes under their branding, so it becomes third party. So you really do have control over that. And then you've got secure escrow payments. So until the job's completed, the money stays in an account. So the buyer who wants the job done will pay for the job. The supplier will complete the job, and if everybody's happy, then that money will then go to the supplier. So they know they're going to get paid, and then the buyer also knows that they've got full control should things maybe not exactly to what it is that they hoped for or the standards they were looking for. So this works within house reporting or as a standalone. So you can literally mix and match. It's a hybrid model. It's totally down to your choice. And it creates transparent communication, both with direct messaging and audit trails. So you can always see exactly where you are. And you can rate the jobs, you can rate the professionalism, the speed, the report quality, the post job. And that means then if you've had a really good experience and you've found that service provider has done exactly what you wanted, you can rate them to the level that you want on a star basis up to 5. If maybe things aren't so great and maybe some areas have been better than others, then you can rate them appropriately. And if the rating goes too low, then we get alerted straight away, and we're there to help you mediate and to help understand where it's gone wrong and what we can do and what the supplier can do to rectify that. So you've always got support. And then with the escrow workflow, it ensures completion before payment. So therefore, you're never worried that you're going to pay and never get the job. So the marketplace really puts you in control of the whole process and makes sure that from an agent point of view or buyer, because you could be a supplier, you could be a landlord, you could be an agent, that you know exactly what you're going to get in regards to report quality, and that you know that you've got that security and security blanket in regards to how we support it ourselves. And then you've got suppliers. So it was called approved suppliers, but we called it suppliers because now the supplier network is growing exponentially. And this allows you to invite inventory-based users in as approved suppliers directly into your account. So if you've got an inventory-based account, you can invite other people into that account to be able to outsource inspections, no different if they were part of your team. But they sit slightly to the side, so they only see what you want them to see. They only access what you want them to access. They only have the reports that you want to give them. And it's a simple invitation process with an email confirmation, and it just means then you send the email, they accept it, and they're linked. And it means then you can assign jobs directly from the inspections workflow. So you'll have your team, you might want to send it out to the marketplace, or you actually send it direct to the person that you've picked. And it gives you the option for branding, both on the supplier side to maintain identity and third-party bias in regards to making sure that that they are seen as a third-party independent, or you can have it in your own branding, so they're working for you and your clients only see you. And then there's an option for suppliers to actually create inspections on your account. So it means then instead of having to wait to book them, you can just contact your supplier and ask them to go and do a job, and they can actually set it up and get out there working straight away. So again, you're not losing anything on time. And all of this includes full transparency and audit trails of activity. So you're always in control of the data, the narrative, the workflow. Nothing is ever done without your permission. And then we have contracts. So what contracts now does, it gives you the ability to be able to offer formal contracts of various job types of various sizes, especially now we've got the summer. It could be that you've got a whole raft of check-ins and check-outs, and you just want one contract, one supplier, and those suppliers now can bid for those. And they are guided by a dashboard for easy contract setup. There's coverage areas and rates and types and property furnishings to make sure that we ask all the right questions. It allows you to have secure attachment of documents and payment info, and also automatic supplier notifications. So it gives the ability to both review contracts, propose rates, and submit bids. And certainly from the buyer point of view, you've got the then full control to be able to review, accept, decline, or communicate with the suppliers. So again, you're fully in control. And all of this, as it does with the marketplace, as it does with suppliers, provides the ability for audit trails, gives you the contracts, the bids, the messagings, and the actions, and all of that is streamlined. It's all transparent, it's all centralized, it's all within your account. So it just means then you've now got a tendering protocol and process to be able to literally go out to a body of suppliers and ask them, so I've got X amount of jobs to do, bid, and then you can pick the one you want to work with. And then you can either work with them once, or you can invite them in to become a supplier direct, a part of your team, as I've discussed, or if not, then you can just go back out to the marketplace. So you can literally scale up, you can scale back down again. It's entirely up to you how you want to work. And it just gives you so much more flexibility in how you work, who you work with, and but also the key thing, it gives you confidence in both the system, the data, the control of that data, and also making sure you're working with the best in the industry. And we're constantly updating and evolving all the time, not just on the software side, but also on the reporting side and the training side, which is why we've got Inventory Based Academy. We're also a Property Mark approved supplier, and now we have the Level 3 Inventories, which is an off-call qualified award, so that it's done exactly the same as if you're doing a Level 3, Level 4 awards with Property Mark. So you know that you've got a quality provider who knows what they're doing and also understands the risks of your business and has those at the heart of their own service as well. And all of this creates an ecosystem within inventory-based work streams and powered by ASIR, which is why we call it Base AI Advantage. And it means then you've got the whole workflow there ready to be able to pick and choose as and when you need it. So if that's a one-off, marketplace. If it's something that you want to recurring to work with a specific supplier because you've built a relationship, but you want the data to be kept very much within your own account, you've got suppliers. And then if you've got big contracts coming on like now or next year, you can then send them out to make sure that you've got the right suppliers doing the jobs and you've got the confidence that they're going to be done to the right standards. So that is a very, very quick talk and walkthrough of work streams and base AI and how to manage those summer periods, especially when, like I said, sometimes you just need that extra bit of hands or you're looking for something a little bit more long term. You can find all of our details here on our QR code, so please scan, or you can contact us on the details here. You'll also find me on LinkedIn, so do feel free to reach out. And if there's any other questions, please do let me know. I think the key thing, certainly from my point of view as a provider, and what I've been trying to do, is make sure that we give all of our users, both our buyers, our suppliers, inventory-based users, and also external people looking for a service, options, flexibility, safety, transparency, and really good audit trails, and all based around compliance, because that is our key focus. So I hope that's been of use for you today. I hope you found some interesting points. And like I said, if you do have anything else that you would like to ask me about, do feel free to contact me. So thank you very much indeed for joining me. And again, I hope the noise hasn't been too distracting. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you, Sean. We haven't had any questions come through, but we have had positive comments about how they're going to be taking the free trial and signing up. But if you do have any questions, we do encourage you to email Sean and email the events inbox, which is events@propsmart.co.uk. And I thank you for everyone for joining. I hope everyone has a lovely rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.